Good evening, Saito residents and the member of our community. I call the order the May 9th, 2024 regular meeting of the City Council and the Success Agency. The invocation will be led by City Clerk Vida Baron. Madam City Clerk, and everyone please rise.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance over the council as they meet this evening to conduct the city's business. Help all of us to be ever mindful that we are here to serve the best interests of our community, and guide the council as they make decisions in the light of your presence. Amen.
Thank you. Can we have the Cerrito High School boys basketball team lead to Pledge of Allegiance?
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All be seated. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct the roll call?
Council and Agency Member Barrows.
Present.
Council and Agency Member Johnson.
Present.
Council and Agency Member Yokoyama.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Vo.
Present.
Mayor and Chair Solanki.
Present. Okay, next item we have on the agenda is the presentation and appointments. We have item 5A, which is the Cerrito High School Boys Basketball CIF champions. The City of Cerrito is pleased to recognize the accomplishment of Cerrito High School Boys Basketball team. The team completed the 2023-24 season with an overall record of 22-11, winning the 605 league champion with 10-0 record. The Dons culminated their season by winning CIF Southern Section Division 4AA championship, led by coach Jonathan Watanabe. The team dedicated their season to the memory of Ethan Soriano, a team member who tragically passed away at the beginning of the season. The city is proud of the tremendous manner in which the Dons boys basketball team completed the represented Cerrito High School and the city of Cerritos through the remarkable season. The members of the championship teams are Jalen Barsana, Brendan Duley, Dylan Abril, Evan Montecarlo, Luke Rigor, Tobana Ozogu, Demetrius Washington, Matthew Camiling, Jonathan Guerrero, Benson Cho, Noah Edwards, Nathan Dwight, Ethan Soriano, Nathan Ju, Sei Pama, Osinachi Agarana, Jaden Ribak, Yuki Yamamoto, and Aaron Shim. So if you coach and player can come at the podium, we can give you presentation. Proclamation.
Keep the living, guys. Come on down. Short, tall, short, tall, short. It's tall, I don't know. Keep coming forward.
Okay, he's a captain. I guess I'll give him the proclamation.
Keep coming down.
Yeah. All right. Yes, please hold it in the front. Do we have a coach? Would coach like to say something?
I just wanted to thank the Cerritos City Council for recognizing our student athletes. They're just, I mean, not just great basketball players, but just tremendous students and great people. It's been an honor and a joy to coach this team. A lot of us, and myself included, all started our athletic careers in the City of Cerritos sports programs. And so just being here with everything that we've been through and done, it's pretty amazing. So we do want to dedicate this time to Ethan Suriano, who is also a player who played in the City of Cerritos Parks and Rec program. He was just a great teammate, great person, very unselfish, but also a tenacious competitor. And so we know that he'll be here with us, but he's looking over us from heaven on God's team. And so we really miss him, and we thank him, and we love him.
Thank you. Can I have my council colleagues for photo, please? Maybe he can be down or something. He's a tallest guy.
Let the coach get in front, guys. Some respect for the coach. There you go. You guys all good? Want to see the camera?
Here, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3, and another 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Okay, next we are proud and honored to name the Jewish American Heritage Month. The City of Cerritos is pleased to recognize the month of May as a Jewish American Heritage Month. Cerritos is proud to join community throughout the United States in recognizing the important culture and historical contribution that Jewish Americans have made in our country and in the community as well called home. Jewish Americans have a long and rich history in the United States dating back to 1654 and the first Jewish settlement established in New York. Cerritos is grateful and thankful for the contribution of the Jewish Americans that have helped to make city a community rich in cultural diversity. I guess accepting the proclamation is Deborah Goldfarb, interim CEO of the Alpert Jewish Community Center of Long Beach. Thank you. Would you like to say a couple of words?
I want to thank you for recognizing this, especially at this difficult time for our community. It's really meaningful that we have partnerships with communities that want to recognize us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to have my council colleague come for a picture. And one more, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know. Next we have is the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The City of Cerritos is pleased to recognize the month of May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Cerritos is proud to join community throughout the United States in recognizing the important culture and historical contribution that Asian American and Pacific Islander have made in our country and in communities we call home. Asian American and the Pacific Islander have a long and a rich history in the United States during back to 1763 when a group of Filipino immigrants settled in Louisiana. Cerritos is grateful and thankful for the contribution of Asian American and Pacific Islander who have helped to make city a community rich in culture diversity. We have various community organizations present tonight. Thank you for being here tonight. I can please ask one member from each organization to come up for the photo opportunity, and I have a list of organizations here. Buddhist Foundation, Cerrito Chinese American Seniors, Cerrito Folk Dance, Cerrito Ivy Club, Cerrito Korean Soccer Club, Chinese Culture Association of Southern California, Filipino Seniors of Cerritos, Korean American Obese Soccer Club, Mid-City Korean American Seniors, Ray Shine Foundation, Original Happy Seniors Cerritos. Can you please? Okay. All right. Yes, council colleague, please come. Come on up here. All. Are we doing all or just one at a time? One at a time, but then we just have one proclamation.
Because they have theirs at the end.
Okay. All right. Okay, come on.
Yeah. My name is Sue Chen. I present the Cerrito folk dance. We've been here almost 20 years for doing the dancing, music, culture, for present the Asian Pacific dance. So thank you, the council give us the opportunity that the community know us and wish more people to join with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please use that plaque, please. Thank you.
Come on in. I thought we were going to do together, but I guess it's one at a time.
Oh, can I ask my members join us? Without them, I cannot learn.
She wants her all the members in that group. I think we should have all of them at the same time, pictures. Yeah.
Come on up and they'll take a picture. Thank you. You'll just, are you talking about everybody in the group?
Yes, for this honor.
Absolutely.
到前面来，到前面，到前面，您到前面。OK， come in， 跟前面，前面的。OK， thank you。
Right over here, everybody. Do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. See you next week.
Okay. Can we have rest of the all the groups, please?
This is every individual president. Okay.
I think the mayor said he wants everybody, all the leaders. Yeah, but I think you want everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do it everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna go with everybody. So how about the mic? That's okay.
Yeah.
Please go. Please go up. Could you please come up? Thank you.
All right, everyone, right over here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
I know there are some of the other members who they want to take a picture, so it's okay. You have your groups?
I have some.
Okay.
Can I have the group of CCA, CT? Yeah. Everyone from Songpo Association, please. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Yin. I'm representing, Cerritos Chinese American Senior Citizens Association. I really appreciate for the city that providing very, very special, great facilities for us to use in senior center, and then provide us very, very good help. We do appreciate. All of us are really, really happy in joining with the city or the event. And then when we have the event, we invite everybody to come over and really appreciate that all your support and help. Thank you.
Council, can we take a picture again together?
What's the next one? Okay.
1,
So
2,
confused
3.
now.
Thank you, right there. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I know. So I know the other organization probably want to have their groups come in too now. So I don't know if would you want to have your groups come in? Yes.
Me? Hello. I am Ayat Centeno. I've been the president of the Filipino Seniors for 13 years. The Filipino Seniors was organized the same time the Senior Center was opened. That's 30 years ago. Our organization is up to enhance the community's participation with the city. And I know you. So anyway, this is a very nice presentation of the city. And I am very happy to see our council members, Linda Johnson and Frank Yokoyama. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else would like to come and take a picture from their organization or the groups can come forward. Who's the other? Anybody from your groups? Okay, come on in. Chung.
All right, everyone, right over here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops. I might fall down. Yes. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
We'll give you a new one. I leave it.
Okay, thank you all for coming. The next item is the mayor's, I'm going to give regarding the item 6. Thank you for attendance at tonight's meeting. State law and our local rules do not support use of profanity, hateful speech, or conduct that disturbs the conduct of the city business meeting. If necessary, I will issue an initial warning and call for the recess to restore order. After that, the chambers may clear if disturb continues. At this time, I am requesting council consents to reorder tonight's agenda to hear non-agenda public comments after item 11B. And for those public comments, suspend the city's live streaming and television while council receives comments in chambers. Do you have consents?
No. No.
Yes.
Okay, got a consents. Also, I'm requesting consents to place an item on next agenda to consider modifying the protocol manual relating to the order of the agenda item for the city council business meeting. Do I have consents?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, next I will call upon the city clerk to provide additional information concerning public comments.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. The following comments pertain to all public comment periods on tonight's agenda. Prior to the meeting, the council agency received full text, unredacted copies of the 7 written comments submitted for this meeting by the deadline listed on the agenda. Requests for copies of written comments can be made to the Office of the City Clerk Treasurer during regular business hours. The mayor will open public comments at the appropriate times on the agenda. Please be prepared to approach the podium and begin your comments at the time you are called. Public comments should be directed to the City Council and made only from the podium during your turn. Please respect each speaker and refrain from any disruptive behavior or speech during their comment time. This concludes the public comment information for this meeting, and the meeting is returned to the mayor to move to the consent calendar. And Mayor, you may want to open public comments on consent calendar items only prior to calling for a vote on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item is a consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Anybody like to speak on item 7, consent calendar?
Are there any members of the public available or signed up for item number 7?
Seeing none, we'll close the public comments on consent calendar and bring it back for the action.
Move approval.
Mr. Mayor, actually, I'd like to request to pull item 7A, the approval of the minutes of the April 29 special meeting for separate discussion and vote.
Move approval with exception of 7A.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we have roll call? Or do we have vote on there? Yeah, sorry.
Yes, we will activate the electronic voting.
Council, please vote. Councilmember Barrows, we have not received your vote, and Mayor, we have not received your vote.
We voted. I'm voting 5 times.
Yeah, mine's showing green for yay.
I apologize, Mayor, I do not see your vote.
Let's do roll call.
Yes. At this time, we'll conduct a roll call vote. Council, this is to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 7A. Thank you. Council Agency Member Barrows.
Aye.
Council Agency Member Johnson.
Aye.
Council Agency Member Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Vo.
Aye.
Mayor and Chair Solanki.
Aye.
The item passes by a vote of 5-0. At this time, it will be consideration of item 7A.
Okay. We have
Thank
7A.
you, Mr. Mayor. In the minutes for the April 29, 2024 meeting, under 10.B.1, it reads there was consensus on an item brought forth by Councilmember Vo directing the city manager to include the Cerritos Sheriff's Captain and the public safety manager in review of any public safety or crime-related legislation prior to presentation to the city council for position letters. At the meeting, I did not hear the 3 votes for consensus, and after reviewing the tape, I still did not hear 3 votes for consensus. I just like clarification on who the 3 votes were that gave consensus.
Where is this in the minutes?
in the minutes. If you go to the minutes, which is 7A, the packet, the actual minutes.
Page 10.
Page
Honorable
10.
Mayor, members of the City Council.
Yeah, page 10 under 10B.1.
Thank you.
I'll start. I was one.
I was 2.
And I believe mine was also.
Yours was. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Okay, so do we have approval of 7A?
Move
To approve.
Second.
Okay, this is gonna work
I have
today?
a motion by Councilmember Johnson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Vogt to approve item 7A.
Council, please vote. We appear to be having a malfunction with the mayor's
Okay,
and
roll
council
call, please. Madam
Thank you.
Clerk.
Council and Agency Member Barrows.
Aye.
Council and Agency Member Johnson.
Aye.
Council and Agency Member Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Vo.
Aye.
Mayor and Chair Solanki.
Aye,
The motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
thank you. Next item, we don't have a public hearing tonight, Robert. Yeah, so next item we're gonna take is under new and old business, 9A.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 9A is the presentation of the draft proposed fiscal year budget for the upcoming fiscal year. This is a culmination of several discussions held by the City Council in the recent months, and also is the fruit of many hours of work conducted by our team who are here in the audience this evening. The presentation this evening will be given by Acting Finance Manager Peter Kemp, and who's going to provide an overview of the city's fiscal position and overview of our budget. And following that, any member of our team here is available to answer any questions regarding the proposal in front of you. We're pleased this evening to present a balanced operating budget. And with that, in lieu of going page by page, as has been done in years past, we propose taking the lead, following the lead of the City Council, with a focus on any pages that you would like to ask questions on or provide comments on. And in doing so, we propose to go section by section. So with that, I will defer to Mr. Kemp to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez, and good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight's item is a presentation of the fiscal year 2024-25 preliminary combined financial program or budget for review and consideration by the City Council. The proposed budget document before you was published on May 2nd, 2024 in conformance with the city's charter. This is the second of 3 scheduled public budget study sessions with the City Council this year. The first was held on January 25th, 2024, during which staff presented the City Council with an update on the budget process, and the council directed staff as it relates to specific funding allocations towards meeting the City Council's priority goals for the upcoming fiscal year. The third and final study session will be held on June 13th of this year. It is recommended that the City Council carefully review and discuss and direct any necessary modifications to this preliminary budget, both during tonight's session and the upcoming study session on June 13th, in preparation for budget adoption, which is scheduled as a public hearing item for the regular meeting of Thursday, June 27th. The preliminary budget document is available for review by the public, either on the city's website or by visiting the city clerk's office in person at City Hall. If I could please direct your attention to the screen. The budget is one of the most important annual considerations of the City Council, as it provides a clear framework and approval for programs and services that directly affect the Cerritos residents. It is a planning and communication tool that serves as a carefully designed roadmap for the city to meet the priorities established by the City Council and residents. The document has 9 main sections. The introduction pages, which includes the table of contents, city manager's budget message, organizational chart, strategic plan, and introduction to the budget process. That is followed by the fund balance statements. Then we have the revenue section. This is followed by expenditure summaries, including operations and CIP. More details provided in the departmental budgets and activity descriptions. Next, we have the budgeted personnel positions and salary tables, followed by the capital improvement program, or CIP. Next, we have the successor agency activity, and finally, the appendices, which include the resolutions, acronyms, definitions, and demographics, and can be found at the end of the budget document. Next, we'll go over a nice high-level overview of the budget. On December 2nd, 2023, the City Council convened for the second annual strategic planning session to review and update priority goals for the upcoming fiscal year. Those goals were further refined at the first budget study session in January and are reflected here on the screen. Additionally, at the January budget study session, the council identified targeted, actionable objectives designed to meet the 5 priority goals. Details of the objectives can be found on page 23 of the budget document. The council directed specific funding allocations towards these objectives and related goals, which have been incorporated into the budget document before you. In total, over $12.9 million in funding has been allocated to activities the council has identified as community priorities. Building on previous strategic planning efforts, this ongoing investment demonstrates the city's commitment to proactively addressing both current and future community needs. Here we have an overview of projected revenues for the upcoming fiscal year, alongside adopted and year-end estimates for the current fiscal year. Recurring revenues, which support the provision of ongoing recurring operating expenditures, are projected at $126.5 million, while one-time non-recurring revenues are expected to be around $11.7 million. Total revenue projections for the upcoming fiscal year are $138.2 million, showing no significant change when compared to the current year's adopted budget. As the City Council is aware, the city's budget consists of 2 components. First, we have the operating budget. This comprises ongoing and recurring programs and services funded by recurring revenues. Second, we have the capital improvement budget, or CIP, which includes one-time expenditures funded by one-time or non-recurring revenues and reserves. As shown here, operating expenditures are proposed at $126.3 million for the upcoming fiscal year, an increase of $6.8 million from the current year's adopted budget. The proposed CIP consists of $35.3 million in funding for various projects throughout the city, bringing total proposed expenditures to $161.6 million for the upcoming fiscal year. Here we have an overview of the operating budget comparing revenues and expenditures. The City Council adopted strategic financial plan and budget preparation policy defines a balanced budget as one where recurring revenues are equal to or greater than ongoing recurring expenditures. For the upcoming fiscal year, recurring revenues totaling $126.5 million support ongoing expenditures of $126.3 million. The result is a balanced budget with a modest surplus of approximately $200,000. Despite facing several challenges, such as stagnant revenues and increased operating costs, including a mid-year cost of living adjustment of 3.7% for all personnel, staff has successfully proposed a balanced budget without reducing service levels. It is important to note that the surplus here is quite slim. Should the City Council consider adding new expenditures to the operating budget, it may be necessary to identify corresponding reductions elsewhere to maintain this structurally balanced budget. As we get into some of the details of the proposed budget, it is important to point out that the financial health of the city remains strong. As previously mentioned, staff has proposed a balanced budget, which maintains the city's high standard of service, showing fiscal stability in a relatively uncertain economic time. Additionally, this budget maintains a healthy level of general fund reserves, ensuring our ability to continue to maintain these service levels without disruption. While the city has been able to make large capital investments over the years without the need to incur debt, we do proudly maintain a AAA credit rating. This rating ensures that, should we choose to borrow, we would benefit from the lowest possible interest rates, significantly reducing the cost of financing. Additionally, this rating reflects sound fiscal management and governance, increasing public trust, and attracting both business investments and new residents, contributing to the economic growth of the city. Finally, the city maintains strong liquidity, ensuring that we have immediate access to funds necessary for daily operations and to efficiently address any unforeseen costs. This robust financial position underscores the city's ability to manage emergencies and maintain steady city services without disruption.
Peter?
Yes, sir.
Before you move on, it'd be helpful for the residents to know, you talk about the liquidity that we have. Can you share what our debt level is?
Well, the city has no direct debt.
That's what I wanted to get across.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
That's okay.
In response to the evolving needs of the community, the city has strategically restructured the former Community and Safety Services Department into two distinct areas: Community and Cultural Services and Community Safety. Community and Cultural Services now encompasses recreation services, senior services, community participation, and the Municipal Library Division. This reconfiguration enhances the city's recreational, cultural, and educational offerings, providing a more integrated and effective service experience for all residents. Community Safety, focusing exclusively on public safety and code enforcement, reports directly to the city manager. This alignment ensures streamlined operations and a heightened focus on community welfare. This strategic realignment allows the city to optimize resources and improve service delivery, ensuring services continue to meet the changing needs of residents and enhance community well-being. These organizational changes are reflected in the budget document before you, both for the upcoming fiscal year and retrospectively. This ensures accurate year-over-year data comparisons, providing a clear view of financial and service adjustments. We will now look at some of the fund balance statements. This slide here displays the estimated fund balances for the city's governmental funds, which include the general fund and its miscellaneous components, special revenue funds, and the capital project fund. Additionally, the city operates an internal service fund, which, although accounted for more like a business, serves the internal government, and for that reason has been included with the governmental funds here. Total estimated ending fund balances for these funds is projected to be about $110.2 million. As you can see, the general fund accounts for a vast majority of the expected fund balances at $63.8 million as a result of the proposed budget. General fund miscellaneous funds, which include the CCPA Endowment Fund and Art and Public Places funds, among others, are expected to end fiscal year 24-25 with estimated fund balances of approximately $13.5 million. Special revenue funds project out to $22.2 million in ending fund balances, and the internal service fund will maintain its balance of $10.6 million through reimbursements by the general fund. Here we have a comparison of actual revenues versus actual expenses over the last 8 complete fiscal years. Strong gains in revenue over the years have consistently supported the city's operations. This was especially true over the last couple of years. In the most recently completed fiscal year, 22-23, governmental revenues exceeded expenditures by an impressive $14.6 million. This has resulted in strong fund reserves, which, among other things, enables the robust capital improvement program being proposed for next fiscal year. A 10-year history of general fund reserves, including forecasts for the current and upcoming year, are shown in this slide. The growth of general fund reserves has been strong and steady over recent years. These reserves have supported aggressive investment in capital improvements this year, which will continue into next fiscal year. Still, the city is projected to end fiscal year 24-25 with estimated general fund reserves of $63.8 million, maintaining a healthy level well above 50% of annual general fund operating expenditures. The city operates 4 enterprise or business type funds, providing water, sewer, reclaimed water, and electric utility services to residents and businesses in the community. As the council is aware, the general fund has provided loans to 3 of these funds over the last decade due to insufficient revenue provided by user fees to cover the cost of services provided. While the city council recently directed the forgiveness of loans owed to the general fund from the water and sewer funds, these funds will still require a non-reimbursable subsidy from the general fund to maintain operations. Both funds are projected to end fiscal year 24-25 with $0 fund balances after this additional funding by the general fund. The electric utility fund, however, is projected to end the year in the black with a modest estimated fund balance of approximately $700,000. The reclaimed water fund, which has remained self-supporting through the years, will continue that trend with an estimated ending fund balance of $1.3 million. Again, we will look at an 8-year history of actual revenues versus expenditures, this time focusing on the enterprise funds. As you can see, expenditures have consistently outpaced revenues over the years. In the most recently completed fiscal year, enterprise fund revenues fell short of expenditures by an aggregate amount of approximately $4 million. Here we have a recent history of the general fund loans to the enterprise funds. As previously mentioned, the loans to the water and sewer funds were forgiven this fiscal year. These one-time adjustments can be seen as special items on their respective fund pages. Any additional funding required from the general fund to the water and sewer funds moving forward will be in the form of non-reimbursable transfers. In addressing the revenue shortfall, staff is actively working towards sustainable solutions. We are currently awaiting the completion of the water and sewer master plans. These plans will provide a comprehensive overview of infrastructure needs related to these utilities and project how ongoing maintenance will impact costs in the future. I will now take a look at revenues. The city has seen very strong gains in available resources over the last decade. The chart here shows the growing trend of all revenues, both recurring and non-recurring, over the last 10 years and across all funds. This growing income stream has allowed the city to prosper when others have struggled during uncertain economic times. However, the current revenue forecast for next year shows some slowdown in growth, with projected combined revenues for the upcoming fiscal year at $138.2 million. Here we have a breakdown of that $138 million by fund type, as is very apparent in the chart. The great majority of funding, approximately $97.7 million, comes from the general fund, which supports the day-to-day activities, programs, and services of the city. This accounts for over 70% of all revenues. Special revenue funds, which account for revenues that are restricted for particular purposes, account for $18.4 million in revenue, or about 13% of the total. And enterprise funds account for $21 million, or just over 15% of total revenues. As we just saw, the general fund accounts for about 70% of all city revenues. The breakdown of those general fund resources is shown here. Taxes, which include sales tax, account for the largest portion of general fund revenue. This is followed by the use of money in property category, which includes revenue generated through the city's ground rent and investment portfolios. This category is projected to bring in nearly $20 million next year. All other general fund revenue categories combined are expected to bring in approximately $21 million. As discussed earlier, recurring revenues provide the funding for ongoing recurring programs and services. They are essential in supporting the primary functions of the government, and it is important to constantly monitor and track these resources and make responsible funding allocations with them. Here we can see the city's top 10 recurring revenue sources, which in the upcoming fiscal year account for about $95 million, or 69% of all revenues. The city's primary source of recurring revenue is sales tax. It makes up approximately 1/3 of the city's combined annual revenue streams and nearly half of all general fund revenues. The city has experienced strong gains in sales tax revenue over the last decade, as seen in this slide. This was particularly true during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the city saw unexpected growth patterns that enabled a stronger than average recovery and return to normal operations. Here we can see budgeted, actual, and forecasted sales tax for recent and upcoming years. Current economic forecasts and their impact on sales tax remain uncertain. The city's sales tax consultant has recently provided updated forecasts for both the current and next fiscal year, as shown in the dashed blue line on the screen. These updates do show a reduction in the current year's forecast and only modest gains into next year. They are optimistic, however, that the city will see more normalized growth patterns of about 3% in the near future. The city's sales tax consultant provides quarterly detailed and confidential analysis of the city's sales tax revenues, which staff monitors very closely. Staff is pleased to report that the city of Cerritos has maintained its high ranking among California agencies. This past year, Cerritos was number 45 in the state out of 539 agencies for total sales tax collected. As you can see here, we are leading cities such as Burbank at 46, Pasadena at number 49, Beverly Hills at number 51, and Santa Monica at number 56. This ranking and quarterly analysis emphasizes the strength of economic power and development in the city of Cerritos that funds ongoing operations and public service programs to the community. This slide shows the long-range history of ground rent and lease revenues. The city is forecasting $10.4 million in ground rent and lease revenue from all of its properties here in Cerritos next year. This is in line with the current year's adopted budget. As the council is aware, the city is a no-low property tax city, which means the city does not assess a property tax on its residents or businesses. However, we do receive an annual allocation from the county based on a formula that utilizes assessed valuation as a criteria. As you can see, the assessed valuation for 2023 reached an unprecedented $11.9 billion based on the most recent LA County Assessor's Report. Based on that assessed valuation, the city is expected to receive approximately $4.3 million in no-low revenues, a modest but steady increase from prior years. Here we have a history and forecast of water enterprise revenues. Notable is the downward trend in recent years. This is in line with a statewide trend of water conservation efforts, and when combined with the increased cost to operate the water enterprise, contributes to the growing gap between revenues and expenditures and the necessity for general fund subsidies. We'll now take a look at the proposed expenditures. The budget allocates $161.6 million for all city services, programs, capital outlay, and the capital improvement program. This graph shows the 10-year history and proposed budget for next year, indicating steady increases in expenses over time for the city's combined budget. The next few slides will show the breakdown of the operational portion of these expenditures. The city's ongoing operating costs, which include personnel, operations and maintenance, and capital outlay in the form of equipment, are estimated at about $126.3 million in the overall budget. These costs do not include the capital improvement projects in the CIP. This chart shows the emphasis on public works at $45.7 million, or more than 1/3 of the total operating budget. This includes services such as tree trimming, facility and street maintenance, and engineering, along with the water, sewer, reclaimed water, and electric utilities. Community safety accounts for about 19% of the budget at $23.6 million and provides law enforcement and code enforcement services to the city. Planned one-time capital equipment purchases are primarily found within the Administrative Services Department as part of the Property Control Cost Center. This is a different view of the same $126.3 million in operational expenditures proposed for next year. This is showing the composition by category. Here we can see that operations and maintenance accounts for almost 60% of the total. This includes expenses such as professional and outside services, fees and supplies, and other maintenance costs. Personnel expenses consume about 40% of the total operating budget, or $51 million. This includes city staffing costs such as earnings, fringe benefits, and overtime. The City Council recently approved a 3.7% cost of living adjustment for employees, retroactive to December 2023. It's important to note the fiscal year 24-25 budget proposal assumes this current rate of pay and does not consider any potential changes. Capital outlay is $2.1 million, or just over 1.5% of the composition shown here. This includes capitalized equipment over $10,000, such as motor vehicles and machinery. Here we have a year-over-year comparison of departmental operating expenditures. As shown in the chart, operating expenditures have steadily increased over the past years. This can be attributed to several factors, including inflationary effects on the cost of goods and services. Cost of living adjustments for employees in recent years have also contributed to the rising operating costs. The effect of these factors have pushed expenditures upward across nearly all departments in the city over the last few years. We'll now take a look at the capital improvement program portion of the expenditures. Actually, before I do that, the capital improvement program for next year is proposed at $35.3 million for projects that are mainly focused on one-time improvements throughout the community. Efforts were made to identify and utilize one-time resources such as restricted and surplus revenues, fund balances, grants, and reimbursements to meet the objective of protecting general fund reserves wherever possible. The following slides will highlight some of the proposed activities within the program, all of which are available in the budget document at both a summary and detail level. The CIP includes a 5-year forecast of projects for the betterment of the community. Here we can see the proposed fiscal year 24-25 budget of $35.3 million, followed by 4 more years of CIP projections. This forecast is updated each budget cycle to reflect changing priorities and resource levels. Here we have an overview of the CIP broken down by classification type. As you can see, the largest allocation is to the streets and highways classification at $14.1 million. This includes allocations directed by the City Council to fund objectives related to the Council's strategic priority goals. Government buildings are proposed at $6.7 million, and water improvements see $6.3 million in proposed projects. Funding for the CIP comes from numerous sources, including one-time or restricted revenues, restricted fund balances, and general fund transfers. The chart here shows how staff utilizes many different resources to fund the robust capital improvement program proposed in this budget. At this time, I'll go over each CIP classification type and highlight some of the major projects in each area. We'll start with the government buildings category, which includes $6.7 million in projects. The general fund provides $3.8 million of that in funding for various projects. Additionally, the remaining savings from the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant received in fiscal year 21-22 will be used along with CCPA endowment reserves to provide funding for several projects at the theater. The other projects category includes a total of $5.2 million in proposed projects. Highlights include the continuance of mandatory encumbrances in the Housing Asset Fund for a proposed mixed-use residential infill development of affordable housing. The additional encumbrance for this year is $1.4 million. The general fund provides $3.8 million in resources for several other projects, including citywide fiber optic network improvements and citywide facility network infrastructure. The next category here is the Parks and Open Spaces category. The primary source of funding in this category is from the general fund, providing resources for several projects, including improvements at the sports complex and Gridley Park Playground. Excuse me. Measure A provides $300,000 in additional resources to fund the Heritage Park Island renovation. The Capital Improvement Program proposes $300,000 in sewer improvement projects. These include rehabilitation and replacement of dewatering stations and sewer lift stations, and the development of a sewer master plan. The largest allocation of resources in the CIP is for streets and highway projects at approximately $14 million. Arterial and residential street rehabilitation projects will continue with accelerated funding as identified in the strategic plan, and will prioritize streets in poor or very poor condition per recent City Council direction. Other projects in this category specifically identified in the strategic plan include the residential pine tree reforestation program, as well as the residential parkway tree and sidewalk inspection and repair program. Funding for projects in this category comes from the general fund and various special revenue funds. The traffic signals category includes $350,000 in general fund resources for town center traffic signal sign replacement and pole refurbishment project, as well as the traffic signal safety light upgrades citywide. And finally, total water improvements proposed for next year amount to $6.3 million. Restricted Measure W funding will provide $2.5 million in resources for a regional stormwater capture facility and NPDES implementation. The Water Fund and Reclaimed Water Fund provide the remaining $3.8 million for various other water-related improvements. The proposed fiscal year 24-25 combined financial program underscores the city's commitment to responsible financial management, strategic planning, and the ongoing enhancement of city services, programs, and infrastructure. This balanced budget is designed to strategically position the city to address its current and future priorities, fostering continued growth and prosperity. This concludes the presentation portion of tonight's item. At this time, I would like to turn the discussion over to the City Council for any questions you may have and to seek your direction on all aspects of the proposed budget presented this evening. Mr. Lopez, myself, and all of the staff in attendance are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for that detailed report. Council has a question for staff.
Are we going to go tab by tab and then just address what we want to address? How are we going to do this? Similar to what Bruce did when he was mayor?
If I may, what we can do is entertain, we can start with the fund page section, which, Peter, if you can point out to what page that starts on. I believe it's 25 of the
26.
budget book, and we can go section by section, if that's what the council would like to
So yeah,
continue to.
we'll go on as if council has any questions. The fund statement starts at page 25, revenue starts at page 63, expenditure is 81, and capital improvement 271. So we're not going line by page, but if you have a question regarding specific those items, we can go to those pages.
I have comments specific to certain pages that are in numerical order, so
Okay, go ahead and start.
nobody has anything right now. So I'm going to jump to page 9.
Yeah, before we start, I apologize. I did call one of the group, Cerritos Culture Association of Southern California. But I don't know, maybe they didn't hear me clearly, but I'd like to call them right now to give their presentation and then continue with the meetings because I don't want them to make wait here.
Thank you to the City of Cerritos. Thank you to the City of Cerritos Council for honoring us and our Cerritos Culture Association of Southern California affiliated Cerritos Chinese School. I'm the principal of the school, and this is our board president. We're here, and thank you for, we accept this proclamation. Thank you.
My council colleague like to take a picture.
Right over here, please. 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And maybe tilt the proclamation a little. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes, Chelsea, what do we got? Sure, absolutely. Come on in. Yes, yes, definitely. There you go. Who'd like to hold? Would you like to say? Anyone like to speak? Anything?
It's our honor that we are invited today. We're happy to see all of you. So every Tuesday, I have a dance in the Cerrito Senior Center. And the seniors are happy dancing. There's a line dancing and ballroom dancing every Tuesday, 5 to 8 o'clock. It's a good exercise for the young or old ladies like us. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Here, on behalf of the City of Cerrito, would you like to come over here?
Right over here, please. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Maraming salamat. Ingat, ingat, ingat. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys too.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, and I think we have one more group, Hamosa, that like to call them too now.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Okay, would like to speak? Would like to say anyone? Okay, there you go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Formosa Senior Association, we want to thank you, City of Cerritos. Give our association the facilities to, make the doing everything. So we want to thank you, especially City of Cerritos and the Senior Center. They are so helpful and so nice to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Come on. Ladies wanted to accept, or who wants to accept this? Okay, come down. Come down. Go down one more step.
Right over here, please. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys. Congratulations. Thank you. You keep this here. You keep this here. You keep this. Chelsea will take it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Okay, we'll continue with this budget. Linda, you had a questions?
I just comment.
Okay, comments?
Comment page 94. I just wanted to comment that I was pleased to see that there's increased funding for travel and meetings for the city manager for educational purposes. This shows how valuable it is to attend conferences and workshops. I'm very pleased to see that Robert is getting involved. That's all. That's just my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if you don't have it, I'd like to have anyone from the public who would like to speak on this item. Okay, we'll bring it back to the council for the question again. Go ahead. No one in the public would like to speak on this item. Sorry, go ahead.
We just keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, page 106.
if we're going to go by section.
Oh, we're going to go by
is that one?
section? Okay.
I thought we were going to do it in sequence because I have a comment or question on page 40
Oh, okay.
of the slide presentation.
We
So
are
we're doing
on
what, the fund,
legislative.
which one, but the revenue or fund statement?
We're on.
No, mine is just, very, simple. I'd just like to get an update. We have some money identified there. Within it, I assume we have the ultra high-speed internet. I just want to know what percent or amount of the $15 million that we designated for that's going strictly for the ultra high-speed internet in this budget.
I believe the amount is 2.5 million. Is that correct, Peter?
Yes, $2.5 million for the fiber optic network.
For the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay, and within that, are we going to have actual conduit that's going to be able to, we were asking for up to 45, 50 megabyte speeds, or excuse me, gigabytes.
That's correct. That's the direction of the city council. We have currently in the process of implementing our first phase around the town center. This would be subsequent phases in the new fiscal year that would meet the direction of the city council on the higher speeds.
Okay, now, does that mean we're going to have something available for the town center in the next calendar year?
That's the
Or
hope.
fiscal year?
That's the hope that we've actually identified initial customer base to begin as a pilot customer, if you will, just to help test it for us. So the hope is that as soon as that's available and online, we can work with them while we're simultaneously preparing our business plan to present back to you.
Okay, the reason why I ask is because I saw a memo that stated a much lower speed than what we asked for. In fact, it was probably less than half. Now, the other part that we asked for is that we have a marketing plan for an outside firm, as PR, to go ahead and let businesses know that we're doing this so we can attract those businesses. Because we are not marketing this just to those that are here, because most of them don't need it. We're looking for something that's much, much higher. That would, drive in, higher revenues and jobs that pay more. So, I don't see that, that major part of what we're asking for has not been identified either.
What we've currently have budgeted in the current year is a business plan that we have a consultant who's begun that process. And as part of that, our plan was to come back and present to you the findings of that, including marketing expenses that would be related to that. So if I may, we would like to present that, when that is ready, and then we can better budget for what those would be.
Okay, I'm just concerned that, that the budget does address, the consultant may not be the best person to identify, those that have expertise in this field, but it's relatively rare. There's only a handful of cities here in Southern California that work on that kind of scale. And we're trying to play catch up to something that we used to lead 30 years ago in, and we haven't done anything over these 30 years. So I just want to, ensure that what the council voted 5-0 on, that we are tackling this thing expeditiously and not delaying it, unnecessarily.
Okay.
There's no need for me to ask for consensus because we've already done that, votes and everything else, but thank you.
That's it. Linda, continue.
So I just want clarification. Are we then on what tab are we on? I started with legislative and administrative. Should we?
Their staff is not asking us the tab. We need to ask the question to the tab if you have a
Let's go.
yeah.
Okay, mine are more comments than questions, really. So should I just
Continue with
proceed?
your comments, yes.
Okay. On page 106, I just wanted to note that significant activity program changes for the city clerk's office had an increase of $330,000, which is needed to add to their budget for anticipated expenditures for upcoming elections. For the upcoming election. I just wanted to make a comment on that.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Councilmember Johnson, thank you so much, and that is correct. I just wanted to make a quick clarification. The $300,000 increase is related to any election proceeding, including the charter amendment review that we might do in the upcoming year. The 30,000 increase is not for the election. That is increase related to legal advertising strictly for items such as our CIP. In fact, this year we had to request a budget amendment for 30,000 because we've had one of the largest CIPs in the history of the city last year. And as a result, we had to increase mandated legal advertising. So I just wanted to make sure for clarification, the 300,000 is for the election and any sort of charter amendment review or proceedings that we might go through Prop 218, but the 30,000 increase is not related to the election. That is strictly for CIP and related legal advertising. Any legal advertising that we do for the election is incorporated in the 300,000.
Yes, thank you, Vita, for that. I kind of just lumped it all together,
No
but thank
problem.
you for separating the two. You're correct. Thank you. Keep going.
Yes.
Page 136. I just want to address that I was pleased to see the budget addresses additional expenditures for our street sign maintenance expenditures, as well as maintenance expenditures, including air conditioning, building and grounds, and water operations. I'm in support of ongoing maintenance so that we don't end up on the deferred maintenance list. Cerritos residents expect a city that is well maintained, and I'm glad to see we are investing in our community. I do have on page 173, this one is kind of more of a deeper dive, if I may. We have on 173, Code Section 63411, Community Program. I wanted to address the funding for the Cerritos Chamber of Commerce. I know I brought it up last year when I had concerns of the additional 20,000 that the chamber requested for the 2023-2024 year. There was direction from this council that the chamber provide a business plan. We did receive one, but the budget provided did not address the need for the additional $22,000. I do have copies of the business plan that was given to us. I'll share it with my colleagues to help them refresh their memory. I know for most of us, especially I'm sure for the mayor who's a businessman, that this business plan is insufficient. I do have copies for the city clerk as well. I want to be clear that I'm not singling out the chamber or making any accusations, but I'm bringing this up because I've actually had chamber board members that have approached me and had concerns about the chamber budget and that it was not transparent. Chamber board members don't even know what the salary is of their executive director, and that's very troubling for me. And it was troubling for them as well, enough for them to even come out and approach me on it. They're frustrated, and in order to achieve success for the chamber, they've been asking for real numbers and a budget that is transparent. In addition, I know there are guidelines for nonprofit organizations when applying for a grant, but I'm not sure if their IRS status is a consideration when issuing the grant. If you go and do a quick look on the IRS website, you can see that the chamber has not filed their 2023 tax return, which was due last November of 2023. There are many questions I have, especially since the chamber is the largest grant recipient, which is $62,000. And don't forget they use the CCPA as well, which is a subsidy of the city valued at $24,000. The fact that board members have concerns makes me concerned. Last year, I voted against the increase. Council asked that the chamber provide a business plan, and I voted against that business plan, which we have before us. Once again, I'm not in support of fully funding the chamber, the $62,000. Perhaps we can discuss another amount until at least they present a decent business plan. I just need to be prudent with our taxpayer dollars. So I'm just wanting to open up that discussion if there's any of our council colleagues here that want to entertain that, or if not, just want to move on, whatever the will of this council is.
Since you're on the topic, I do like to discuss that for a second. I believe I'm on the committee, right, that was assigned for the chamber?
Yes.
So I'll address that with the board of the chamber. This is a private entity that we support, And it's interesting that board members have issues. Those are the same individuals that need to address it with their executive officer. I feel like we're stretching our muscles because we do give a portion of that donation to them. But at the same time, if the board members are the ones that have issues with the gathering information by their executive officer, they should address it. So if the council likes, I will address it with the board members at the next meeting to deal with this, because that is a question that needs to be answered.
They said they've tried to reach out to their executive director and
So,
to meet with her.
But it's not our job
I know, but I'm just
to
saying that-
say that they should deal with one of their employees. Our job is to perform what we do feel like it's necessary to provide the funds, if so we feel that way still.
Yeah.
But on the same token, it's not, we shouldn't be stretching our reach into a private entity and saying, hey, you need to do something that probably should have been done.
I'm not asking them to
Okay.
do anything.
Well, it sounds
I'm
like
just,
you're.
no, they came to me because they were frustrated that they received no answer from their executive director. I'm just bringing it forward to let you know what's going on.
And I
I'm not
appreciate
even asking you guys to.
So they need to
not
address
fund.
that though with their.
Yeah, well,
their
they came to
individual.
me, so I'm sharing it with you.
All right, thank you. I have no problems meeting with them if that's what the council wants to address this issue.
Okay, I'd like to point out one thing. The taxes for last year aren't due yet for them.
It's due. IRS said it was due November 2023. I spoke to the IRS.
23 tax due in November 23.
The fiscal year ended June 2023. The tax year ended June 2023, and their taxes were due on November 2023.
Okay,
When this-
they're allowed to postpone it legally.
That's not what they told me when I called the IRS. They said that it was past due.
Okay, corporate has different, deadlines than individuals do.
We clearly spoke about this 501c6, and we clearly spoke about this particular chamber. I gave them the
But
EIN
again, like Chang
number.
says, he will talk to them, and that's a private business. We shouldn't be getting involved with their tax returns.
I'm not involved. I'm just saying that they haven't filed it. It's a quick Google search.
I have the same concern, so I will address it if that's what the council wants.
Is that consensus you're asking? Oh.
I'm concerned because we're giving them, we're proposing to give them $62,000 of our Cerritos residents' money. That's why I'm concerned.
Okay.
So can we have clarification then what's happening? Councilmember Vo will then speak to them as the chamber liaison. Is that it?
I guess he's going to talk to them. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I lost my. Sorry. Let me see. As far as the community and cultural services, I just want to say that I'm pleased that the budget addresses replacement of furniture and equipment for our library, swim center, golf course, senior center, and recreation services. Our residents deserve a city that is safe with usable furniture and equipment. Page 192, just want to comment that I support fully funding our community safety. Although there are significant increases to contract adjustments, safety for our residents is a priority. And on page 220, I'm just pleased to see that we're able to support our employees with increasing the budget for conference and training opportunities. We as a city cannot be the leader in the region without giving our employees the resources to get us there. And on page 226, the last thing I wanted to comment on is that in addition, I think I already covered that. I'm sorry, I take that back. That's all I have. And lastly, page 232, I just want to say last season was a great variety of artists that came to the CCPA. Thank you to our executive director. and performances were top notch. We need to invest to bring in talent and artists that will attract not only Cerritos residents, but folks from the region, which means dollars spent at our restaurants and our businesses. Those are my comments on our departments for our budget. Thank you.
Thank you. You got more, John? Okay. Again, I will open up for the public comments. If anybody would like to speak on this item. This is budget item only. Come on forward.
Did see that you guys have 300,000 set aside for Heritage Park. Online, I've seen a lot of complaints about the island area of it with the ship and all the stuff not being very safe for kids to play around and people having a lot of issues with the state of the park. So I'm just glad to see that the $300,000 is set aside just for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Martinez. I'm the delegate for the 64th district. I represent 8 cities. I was really concerned to hear that there's $62,000 being proposed for the Chamber of Commerce. They are supposed to be an extension that aids the community, not siphons cash. And we have regulations that every private entity and organization needs to meet. And if they are past due their paperwork, it is unethical and it is a violation of your fiduciary duty to not uphold them to those standards and to continue to give them our money as taxpayers. So you need to be transparent. They need to be transparent. And it's very abhorrent and dangerous when when people in power are saying that we do not need to tell them that they need to abide by the regulations and rules because they're a private entity. That is unacceptable. If they're taking taxpayer money, we should be able to analyze how they're conducting themselves, and we should be able to question them when we believe that they are acting unethically or are lacking transparent. I don't know if we have to pull your 700s to figure out if most of those members in the chamber are personally your donors, but we're willing to do that. And if some of you have a conflict of interest because you are associates or sit on particular boards and still come up here and vote to give them money, then that should be disclosed, and you should refrain from participating in something that could be a conflict of interest, even if you're just doing it in an abundance of caution, which is the ethical thing to do. So I look forward to hearing more from Ms. Linda, who I am pretty sure she's well versed on this. She did speak to the IRS as she indicated, and I definitely do not want to see any more gaslighting of other council members telling her that she doesn't understand the business practice or the framework, because from what I heard, she's pretty on point. So you have the support of the community, and we will be here to support you. And we will be pulling your 700s to figure out if you have any conflicts of interest.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? So none, will close the public comments period and bring it back for the council for reaction. Currently, we just need to do this receive and file, right? We are going to have a couple of more meetings on these items.
That's correct. I'd like to have Mr. Kemp outline the next steps that are involved following tonight's meeting.
Okay, before that, on page 91, we have $45,000 for travel and meetings for a council. Again, I like to allocate that rate to individual council, not put a lump sum.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Could we ask for an increase of $50,000 to cover inflation? Because all the expenses,
Sure.
the flights have gone up, everything's, gone up.
I thought we want to save the money. We're spending the taxpayers' money, no? So
I'm sorry, I'm confused. What are you asking for? That was kind of quick.
The 45,000 is, with inflation, it's up above 50. So what we should do is just adjust it to that.
So you say our current budget 45,000 right now for council travel, so the council members here can go and travel. You want to increase that?
Just to 50. I don't want to go back to the numbers we had years ago, which was like 100,000 and stuff like that, even though we didn't reach it.
Well, I'll ask staff, have we reached the budget for this fiscal year yet? Are we going to break that budget?
Let's see. So right now, currently in the fiscal year, 45,000 was budgeted. We have not yet reached that full amount yet. I don't know the exact number, but I would guess it's around in the 25 to 30,000 range as of right now.
Yeah, and I expect the same thing to happen, but
I would not like to increase it, Bruce, at this time. Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that $45,000, I would like to allocate to each council rather than putting a lump sum 45,000. So it's $9,000 per council.
Is there a consensus to consider that for this upcoming fiscal year budget?
Well, first, I agree with Bruce's comment, and then I disagree with Naresh's comment.
My main point is that we all, and Frank, you challenged me on that, a year ago. The amount that we have is, I think, recognized at 1/5 of the 45, which would be 9,000. And Frank, your question was that I traveled a lot way back in, a couple decades ago. We had a lot of things going on, legislation going forward in D.C. and Sacramento. But my response was that if you ran up to that and you asked to have extra money for a trip, I said I'd vote for that. Is we're looking at the actual trips, what we're trying to accomplish. We're not going to go play golf at some event. I've never showed up for the contract cities when they have the golf tournament. I just don't participate in that. I go there to work, and to bring back results. And that's what I'm hoping I'll see from each of the council members. And I know that we're not going to use it because I know I'm not going to travel that much. My wife's medical treatments require that I stay closer to home. So, with that, what I do know is that if things are going on and we're actually working, with the National League of Cities, with legislation in D.C., those trips aren't cheap. And, I had times where I testified before Congress on a couple occasions. One of them I was given notice I had to be there the next morning. And I was up in Sacramento working on business. I had to change flights, take off from there, and the flight was expensive. But they expect me to be there at 8:30 in the morning to testify. So, what I'm looking at is I want to have us to have the flexibility, but not go ahead and put carte blanche on it. That outside of, an emergency, that if there's a council person that wants to travel, most recently we just had out to the desert with SCAG. SCAG picked up the expense for one night. Normally we pick up the next night. And all we ask this time is that if you're at your limit, because this is towards the end of the year, that you ask. And with that, based on what I said last year, I would have voted to go ahead and do that. And if you don't do it, then of course, the event's gone. We still have another event, that's, regional and statewide coming up. So for those that go, I just want to be sure that we have that flexibility. But I do expect that when people go, they come back and say that they did attend, the classes. They do attend and say if they picked up an idea that we can use, we need to hear it. We don't need a sheaf of papers. And I know in the past we had one member that went through and just went to every room, picked up the papers they passed out, and here's what he did. There's a lot more to it. And I'm just looking to have, those things done so that our residents know that we are using this time, wisely. So, my request would still be to have 50. I don't expect us to use it. I'm saying if conditions warrant it, we have it in the budget. We don't have to have staff go through the exercise.
So it's 50 will be for 5 council, so 10,000 for each.
Yeah, total. I mean, I'm not going to use it. So if someone comes back and they used up their 10, and so they need an extra, a few hundred or 1,000, we can adjust it without having staff modify the budget.
Actually had plans to, I actually had plans to bring up the budget, the council budget under 11B, under council reports, but I think it's a good time for me to bring it up right now. In the past, council travel budget was shared by all. It worked out fine since there are some council members that prefer not to attend conferences, which then frees up the budget that are willing for those to go that want to put in the work. However, on June 12th, there was council consensus to divide the budget by 5, therefore cutting into each council member's budget. Recently received copies of the incurred travel-related expenses ending 12/31/2023 and also ending 3/31/2024. In the memos, it is mentioned that council consensus must be obtained to authorize expenditures that exceed their fair share, which would be $9,000 from the total budget of $45,000. Since I am the delegate or representative for California Contract Cities Board of Directors, Independent Cities Board of Directors, SCAG General Assembly, National League of Cities Constituency Group, a PAMO board member, and National League of Cities, I serve on the Public Safety Committee. I'd like to request council consensus to approve an increase for myself to approve my travel expenses for attending the SCAG General Assembly, to which I am a voting delegate, and also to attend the California Contract Cities Municipal Seminar next week, to which I'm a board director. I was appointed by the mayor for both of these delegate positions. So far, this council has not exceeded the overall budget for travel expenses, and that we are well under the $45,000. I know this council values conferences and workshops, and that it's important to have a seat at this table. As they say, if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. I was elected to represent our residents, and I am committed to doing so by attending these conferences so that Cerritos is not on the menu. In fact, in this current budget, staff has also addressed the need for education and participation at these conferences. So in the current budget, there is an increase for funding for the city manager and MIS staff. So at this time, I'd like to request council consensus to approve current and future travel expenses for myself up to the end of the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024, where I have exceeded my budget of $9,000, but will not exceed the total budget of $45,000 as a whole.
Is that your motion?
That's my consensus request.
Well, you should ask that before your last council meeting, before you traveled.
I'm asking for the past SCAG conference, which I didn't have all the
past.
numbers, and also for next week's meeting.
Well, I would not authorize past. You should ask on the last council meeting.
You appointed me as a delegate.
I did. I mean,
So
you
you-
also knew your limit, and council there is a reason we put a limit on it, so we just don't keep abusing this limit that we set.
So you feel your appointment of myself and going to SCAG is abusive?
If you do not want to serve, I can always reappoint someone else.
Please go ahead and reappoint someone else.
Okay.
If I may, Mayor and council members, we have, I think, 2 items, one being the budget and the $45,000 as proposed, possible proposed increase, and then it sounded like a possible notation for the budget that was brought up. Again, this is all for discussion in connection with the budget of allocating certain amounts for each council member that would be set for the upcoming fiscal year, meaning the one that's going to start in July of this year. Separately, there was Councilmember Johnson's request that is related, as she noted, to item 11B on approving or ratifying travel expenses for the current fiscal year, while it's okay to have this discussion in connection with the budget because it is related to the budget, if there is consensus for the current fiscal year, I'd recommend that we just have it recorded that either consensus action or approval or non-approval be recorded in the minutes for item 11B, even though if you would like to have a discussion of it right now, because that is the time that we have it set, or that is where we have it set on the agenda, is under
On 11B.
Yes.
Okay.
I would concur that we should.
Oh, your mic.
Until 11B.
Okay. I think your mic.
The request I made was on, I'm sorry, I pressed it. You know, my request was on the current budget for the
Okay.
coming year. Yeah.
So it's two different things. This is for the future, for July 1st budget,
Yeah,
and we're
just to
talking about the
bifurcate
past
into
budget.
two, postpone the one till the proper time in the meeting, which would be 11B. And Bill, thank you, for identifying that, the request, that if we'd make a change from 45 to 50, this is the time to do it, while we're looking at approving, the budget, before we go into the next meeting on it, later.
Okay, then for clarification, then I will make that request again for my consensus request. I'll repeat it again under 11B. Is that correct, Bill?
But you don't have to repeat the whole thing. It's just let's have it considered and then decided upon at that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Then what have we decided then for 53080? Are we up to 50,000?
Well, I'd like to make a comment, if I can. I haven't had a chance yet.
If I can make a request, I know the school board refers to all the things by numbers. The residents don't know that. It makes it a lot easier just to state that we're talking about travel expense instead of referring to a series of numbers with dots in it and so forth.
My apologies.
No, I'm just saying it's something I noticed about the school board. It's aggravating because you don't know what's going on and you can't find it online or quick enough. It's just easier to say if we're talking about
Travel and
roads or
meetings.
trees or sidewalks, just state, in very simple English for our residents to understand. If I have council concurrence, I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
I'd like to make some comments in regards to that request per this item. It's to me, I find it interesting that just a moment ago we discussed about how we're allocating certain monies to certain groups, and we're not being transparent enough to understand. And I agree, those are issues that we need to address with those groups. And then we bring it back and talk about our own personal trips and our compensations, and we're like, hey, let's give ourselves an extra 5,000 or an extra 7,000 or extra, for personal expenses so we can travel. It's already said that we haven't met that budget for last year already, but I'm not comfortable with increasing money to give to us so we can use it for travel when, we have other issues to deal with as well. 5,000 may not seem a lot more, but when we talk about budgets, little budgets like service groups out there that we give about 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, things like that's what I'm worried about. Our 45,000 we have budget already, we're not going to meet, but yet we want to increase it by another 5,000. Because what happens when you increase it, then now we're going to plan ahead and say, oh, I can travel more. I can go buy more plane tickets. I can go buy more meals. I can go sign up for more events. And we being council members, we're trying to budget our city. We should also be able to budget ourselves. Now, my budget for this travel year is about 7,000. And there's a couple of conferences I would like to go, but I decided not to because I'm going to exceed my budget of 9,000. So I decided I'm not going to travel because although, it's valuable to go, and I agree, we also have to understand that this is not our money that we're spending. This is public funds. And then also when we do travel, I understand there's conferences and the working days may be 2 days or 1 day, but sometimes we decide to go 2 days before or 1 day before, and that incurs an extra night of hotels. Sometimes we go because we're invited to certain special events that has really, it's more of quote unquote networking, but it's really, a gathering of individuals that are friends and stuff. And I get it, networking is important, but the working days are the 1 day or the 2 days. And I know for a fact our staff, when they do go, they're very conscious of that. You know, they're like, hey, we got to be careful what days we go because we're supposed to be there for working purposes. And so, you know, as a council, though, we get to choose, and the staff doesn't question too much when we travel. Is there's a quote unquote networking, a dinner the night before. So I need to go 2 days before to make that dinner. And so that incurs cost that the public probably doesn't understand. And so for us to be able to take that and say, hey, let's give ourselves more money so we can do, and now knowing that that 5,000 is going to be added on, we have a bigger budget. We can go and now plan on more trips or add extra nights when really the working days are just 1 or 2 days. So that's what I'm not comfortable giving us more money so we can travel. I just don't think it's necessary, especially if we haven't even met the budget yet. I am good with approving extra because we're at budget 45,000. I'm okay with, and that's what I think the issue was, is that if you go over your 9,000, as long as we're within our 45,000, I'm also okay with saying, okay, well, some of us haven't used that item, but I know with any public entity, when you increase budgets, it's hard to go back down. We just continue to spend. So if we haven't even met that issue yet, why give ourselves more money so we can use it? So I wouldn't support it. So those are my comments. And I get it. Conferences are important though.
I just want to say we can't compare our charitable grant program to our council travel. And it's council travel. We're not traveling for pleasure or leisure. You know, you gotta take time off of work. My work, I work during the day. You gotta take time away from your family. We go to these conferences that start early in the morning. It's no fun to get up at 8 in the morning to listen and sit in sessions all day long. But we do it. We do it because we want to be able to have a seat at the table so we can best represent our residents. So there's no comparison of what grant funding is to what we do. We're working. And I know for myself, especially for National League of Cities, I showed up the day before because that was in Washington, D.C. You have to show up the day before and be on time for the 8 o'clock morning session the next day. I didn't arrive the first day at 10 p.m. and miss a whole day of session. So I'm there from start to finish, working, bringing back my notes. And like I said, I'm not just there to network. I'm actually a voting delegate on some of these organizations. And I'll tell you the importance of networking. I can pick up the phone right now and make a call to most of our South Bay cities, 710 corridor cities, gateway cities. If I have a request, they're going to give it to me. That's the networking I bring to the table.
Okay.
So, was there?
I second Bruce's motion to increase the item to 50,000.
Is that a motion or consensus?
Consensus, so you can say it.
I'll provide consensus to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce and Linda.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to clarify one thing. And Chung, I appreciate all your comments. People think that, if we fly to DC, to me, it's not fun. It used to be fun to fly, but it's not anymore. The other part is that, you take off early in the morning. The earliest you normally get there is right around 4 o'clock. Depends on which airport you go into, and if you have to go through another airport, take a second flight to get there. I've arrived at 11 o'clock at night. And then it would take up to 50 minutes to an hour to get from whichever airport you go into. Dulles is at least 50 minutes to get into DC to a hotel. And normally by the time I got in, you can't go out to dinner. So you're trying very quick to get some food brought up. And our budget doesn't accommodate expensive meals. So, with that, you're trying to go ahead and budget everything time-wise. And frequently, what you should be doing is in between the sessions, we try and meet with our congressional members. I've had mayors of other cities ask me to meet with their congressional member to help move some projects forward. So I was able to have influence over modifying the Telecommunication Act, another Transportation and Workforce Investment Act. You know, these things brought money back to the area, but they all take time. And, you know, what I had hoped that we would continue that tradition, that we go back and actually work on bills and be able to come back and state, you know, we don't need to hear a long dissertation on it, but we do need to hear that you're actually working and what was accomplished. And, you know, one of the times I was in one of the hotels walking through the, you know, lobby, and a group of mayors asked me to introduce to some lobbyists. And the first thing they said was, oh, we already know about Bruce because of the bills that, you know, we've affected. And that's what I expect, you know, from each person that does travel. And it's that part of it. It's, we don't go back there to play. There's a couple occasions where I stayed a couple days later, but I paid for the hotel room. I paid for all the meals. The city picked up nothing. And that's exactly the way. If you go back and stay an extra day, it's on you. It's not on the city. And January is the normal time at the Conference of Mayors. You know, they stay for the every 4 years election of the new president or the re-election. You know, there's a bunch of things go on. I've never stayed for it, but we have had, you know, our mayors in the past do that, but they all paid for themselves. There's absolutely no charge. You know, we picked up the cost for them to go to the conference, to participate in it, and then, you know, what they did after the conference is over was on their dime. So, and to me, it's, you know, it's really cut and clear that we don't expend the extra funds. We use it very judiciously. And, you know, quite frankly, we shouldn't reach it. But in case things happened, you know, we need to be able to go back. And we need to have more than just one person. You know, so I'll go back if we have to. But, you know, right now, I don't anticipate, you know, my using much of my, you know, my budget. But anyway, thank you for the consensus, you know, to amend it to 50.
May I also, Mayor and council members, if there's consensus also on the division, possible division of that 50,000, 10,000 per council member, if that is the intent, I'd like to receive consensus on that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
Yes. Report that. Yes.
Yes, I also would like to comment though. Most cities actually allocate a bigger budget for the mayor because the mayor is the representative of the city. The mayor should be able to go to conferences and represent our city accordingly from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I don't know if this council wants to entertain that, but something to consider in the future.
Can I make a comment? Because I know Naresh won't make a comment. Naresh has paid for himself and had no charges on certain items to, the city. So that might be something you might want to wait until for the next mayor to look at the budget. Okay. Naresh has been very modest about that. Hasn't spoke about it, but I'll toot your horn for you a little bit.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, any other comments, questions? So would we receive and file this item until the next meeting?
Yes, Mayor, what we will do is with the comments that were received, the consensus items that were amended or adjusted, we will come back to the council on the budget at the first meeting in June for the final budget study session to simply recap the discussion. And if there are no further amendments beyond that, we will present the final budget for adoption at the second meeting in June.
Thank you. All right, the next item is the item 10A, reports any pending legislation.
Thank you, Mayor. We have no items under 10A, but we do have an item under 10B.
Okay.
This is a legislation that was discussed at the last city council meeting and relates to the RENA process. Assistant to the City Manager, Ryan Carey, is going to present this item, and following his presentation, he and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. The item before you this evening is being presented as a follow-up to direction that was provided to staff at the last city council meeting on April 25th, where the council requested an update on Assembly Bill 2485 and the potential preparation of a letter of support in favor of the bill. AB 2485 is legislation that's been drafted in response to statewide concerns over the manner in which the California Department of Housing and Community Development, better known as HCD, has been developing the regional housing needs figures that every city in California is required to address within their respective housing elements. As the City Council is well aware, the RENA allocation process has long been a source of concern for agencies across California, particularly as it relates to transparency, oversight, and the methodology that HCD is using to develop their estimates. AB 2485 would address the concerns surrounding HCD and its preparation of the RENA figures by adding substantive measures to address transparency and oversight. The bill, which is sponsored by SCAG and authored by Assemblymember Carrillo, would require HCD to publish the data sources, analysis, and methodology it uses in its development of regional housing needs, and would require that HCD assemble an advisory panel that is charged with providing advice and consultation on the assumptions and methodologies that are being used. The legislation, which has received widespread support, including support by the League of California Cities, SCAG, and the California Association of Councils of Government, is currently in the Assembly Committee on Appropriations, awaiting hearing by May 17th. Notably, there's been no registered opposition to the bill. After a thorough review and in consideration of the concerns surrounding the RENA process, staff is hopeful that AB 2485 will go a long way toward addressing the problematic issues surrounding the process. Accordingly, staff is recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor on behalf of the City of Cerritos to provide a letter of support for Assembly Bill 2485, a draft of which has been provided as an attachment to the report. This concludes my presentation. We'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, for the report. Question?
Just one. This is, from what I read, is the result of litigation that covered Northern California. They didn't use the LA County as part of their studies for legal reasons, other challenges that were ongoing at the time. But it's not out of the goodness of their heart they're doing this. This has been an ongoing problem ever since I've been on City Council. And that goes back a lot of years now, but it's something that it's needed, and I just want to be sure that our residents understood that there's litigation involved behind this, and this is really addressing those challenges. There's still more to come, but I want to thank staff for the report and your report, Ryan. It's something that it's definitely needed at this time.
You have a question? Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you for the report.
Do you need the consensus?
Do you need consensus on that? You need a consensus, Bill?
Public comments.
Yeah, public comment and then a vote.
Okay. Anyone like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we close the public hearing and bring it back for a council for consent.
Move approval.
Second. Vote? Okay. We got a motion, second. Madam Clerk, do we need a roll call?
To my voting chart, thank you. And we have a motion by Councilmember Barrows and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Vo to authorize the letter of support. This time a roll call vote will be conducted. Council and Agency Member Barrows.
Aye.
Council and Agency Member Johnson.
Aye.
Council and Agency Member Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem and Vice Chair Vo.
Aye.
Mayor and Chair Solanki.
Aye.
The motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Next item we have is the reports from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'd like to begin by thanking all the members of the City of Cerritos staff team who are present here this evening for their very hard work on putting together the budget, and also for their support staff who are not here, also who have participated in the process. Very proud of the team and glad for their hard work on this. Secondly, I would like to provide an update regarding the golf course. As the City Council is aware, The golf course closed about a year and a half ago following the rupture of a pipeline under the golf course, which resulted in significant damage to the course. We, after some work that was required by the pipeline owner and subsequently by the city of Cerritos, we did open the golf range, the driving range last May, so about a year ago. But there was additional work that had to be done by the city after the pipeline owner had vacated the site. That work was completed earlier this year. We did report on that a couple months ago. There was some final work that had to be done by the pipeline owner's contractor as part of their regulatory compliance related to the pipeline leak. That work was planned to be scheduled around that time that we last had discussion. Unfortunately, that work has not yet happened and is still pending. But we have recently understood that the work, when it's scheduled, will likely be able to occur during evening hours. What that means is that we are ready now to prepare to open the golf course. Working with our staff team to pinpoint a potential date, we are currently looking at Friday, May 24th as an opening day for the golf course. As the council is aware, at the council's direction, we did implement a electronic tee time reservation system, which will allow members of the public to reserve tee times online, as well as in the office, but through an electronic system. We are making efforts right now to complete the process for that. It's ready to go, but we're just getting it teed up with our team to be ready for an opening. So with that, we are prepared to begin providing public notice on that opening day, provide information on how to sign up for tee reservation online. And with that, we'll also inform the public that it is possible that subsequent to the opening, there may be intermittent closures for maintenance related to this forthcoming work. We are hopeful that that work can still remain overnight. There may come a day here or there, or perhaps a few days where it has to happen in the day, and we may have to close the golf course temporarily. But we know our community members are very excited and eager for the opening, and we're pleased at this time to making the preparations for that opening. And that's my update.
Thank you, Robert, for the report. That's great news. I think community has been waiting for that for a long time, and they'll all be happy. I know we have many employees here for the budget item. Robert, if you don't mind, if you want them to excuse, all the budget employees can please leave so they can be with their family.
They are welcome to leave if they like. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Okay, that brings us the item 11B. At this time, we'll move to item 11B for council member comments. In the interest of time, I'm requesting council consents to limit each council member comments time to 3 minutes. Do I have consents?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'll start with Linda Johnson.
I attended the 2024 SCAG Conference, Regional Conference, and General Assembly, to which I'm a delegate and a voting member, along with Council Member Frank Yokoyama, City Manager Robert Lopez, Director Kristen Aguila, and City Attorney Bill Erkey. Team Cerritos was definitely in the house. It's been a while since we've had staff go with us to conferences, and I want to thank Robert, Kristen, and Bill for attending. It makes a difference when a team from Cerritos attends these conferences. We all learn from our counterparts from other cities on what they're doing, as well as best practices. I also look forward to more of our leadership team to attend future conferences. Also at this conference, Robert and I were at a reception where Councilmember Yokoyama was recognized for his 2-year service as chair of the CEHD committee. He was presented with a gavel, and I'm glad that Robert and I were there to support him. So congratulations and thank you, Frank, for your service. The conference sessions were, of course, very informational. One of the ones I attended was Creating Complete Communities. They discussed 15-minute cities, which is a concept where daily services such as work, shopping, and healthcare, etc., can easily be reached by a 15-minute walk, bike, or ride. I guess at this time then, Bill, I'll bring up my request then for consensus that I had stated before, that I wanted to request council consensus to approve my current and future travel expenses up to the end of the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024, where I have exceeded $9,000, but it does not exceed the total budget of $45,000 as a whole.
Yes.
Bill, can we bifurcate that, to address the easy one, which is the next conference, and then come back and address, the two, past areas that she's asking about?
It's however the council would like to address it. It's,
Okay.
Councilmember Johnson has brought it up.
Right.
But if there is a consensus on part of it and maybe not other part of it, it can be as the council.
Okay, because based on what I heard, Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and authorize, the travel, as I stated before. You're asking in advance, and I support that. I shared that a year ago. I still stand by it. So if you don't mind, if we talk about the upcoming trip, then, I'd like to see if we can just address that part based on what, has been said or shared in the past, and then deal with, the past two events.
Okay, fine with that.
Okay, so I'll give you consensus,
Consensus on the future travel up until the end of June 30th. I think there's only one.
Well, it's only one at the moment, so you need to come back and ask for
Each and every time?
Each time. That's what we asked last year.
Okay.
So
if I may, members of the council, the reports are designed with a little bit of flexibility, where if there's a need to ratify a travel expense for a prior one or for upcoming travel, that can be as the council so desires. It's intended in the agenda to be flexible on how those items may be addressed.
Right, because, when this first came up for consensus, it was, then it was Naresh, who was not the mayor, that they wanted to divide the pot. It came up as consensus. It really wasn't a motion. And I questioned it at the time. I did not give consensus to that. But with that consensus, there really wasn't any guideline or policy created on how this should be brought up. It is only now that we see on 11B that they added an extra sentence saying that this is a good time for you to bring it up. We just recently got reports on what our expenditures were. Thank God for staff that keeps track of our expenditures. I mean, I'm just trying to juggle a schedule where I can go to these conferences, but really there were no guidelines. So, I mean, I think it would be best practice to at least set up a guideline so that we understand when these things need to come up. And I don't think there's times sometimes where you can't ask beforehand. You just kind of get up and go at the last minute. So as Bill said, the city attorney said that there is some flexibility. And in our regular budget, there are budget amendments all the time.
I think it's admirable and honorable that Councilmember Johnson is making an effort and actually representing our almost 50,000 residents of Cerritos by coming to council meetings, by representing our city out in the community at local events, but also going to these conferences. It's work. It's hard. It's hard to go to leave your family. It's hard to juggle it with a work schedule. So thank you for representing our residents who elected us to represent them, to represent our city, do what's best for our city, have a seat at the table. You're trying to figure out what to do because it was confusing. I didn't really understand what the three gentlemen here wanted to do when they made a change to the longstanding practices of having one budget amount for the city council to attend conferences. And then a year ago, not during the agenda item of the budget, but at the end of the meeting, during council member comments, that's when they bring up this change in what was a accepted normal process of the city council and the budget for decades. And so now individual council members get a share, a cut of the budget, and we're asking the council members to keep track. We're asking staff to keep track. We're asking the city manager's office, administrative assistants to keep track. We're asking the city manager, the assistant to the city manager. We're asking Peter. All these people are working hours of work to keep track of this new procedure that was established by 3 council members that I voted against and Linda voted against. And I think there's a correlation to the fact that Linda is working hard to represent us at conferences, and I'm trying to do the same thing when my schedule will allow to go represent our city at conferences. But she's doing what the council asked her to do. I'm seeing this on the agenda for the first time. Was this on the agenda before, City Clerk?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm going to
regarding
defer.
11B, where it says request may be, where does it say? There will be no discussion or action taken on any of the items that may be presented during this agenda item, except to approve or ratify travel expenses for city-related businesses. Was this on? Was this on previous agendas going years back?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you, Council Member, for the question. I'm going to defer that question to City Manager Robert Lopez.
Why can't you answer it?
Because the direction to amend
Who
the agenda.
prepares the agenda?
We prepare the agenda, and the direction to include that language came from the City Manager, so I'm going to defer to the City Manager.
Okay.
Thank you, Council Member. Yes, as was stated, the added language at the end of the paragraph under 11B did come at my request in consultation with the City Attorney in light of the information that staff had prepared to the City Council in order to facilitate and provide a clear point on the agenda for those requests related to travel to be discussed and then for action to be taken.
So when was this added to the agenda for City Council meetings?
Excuse
a
me.
year ago, a month ago, last week, or what? This agenda, which one?
Tonight's agenda is the first agenda in which this added language has appeared.
So this is the first time we have this instruction.
That's
this,
correct.
This guidance
on
how council members could request additional funds to do the hard work of representing our city. Regionally, locally, statewide, nationally, this is the instruction for the first time.
Yes, we did provide a memo to the council last Friday to advise you of the change. Because the consensus language that was provided originally in last June was broad, we included this as a sort of an implementation measure in response to the council direction.
Okay, thank you. So, let's just be.
Frank, hold on a second.
Let's just be council members working together.
Frank, you don't have 3 minutes here right now. So Linda Johnson she has the floor. Are you done with your comments or reports?
Yeah, back in March, there was a request by one of us. It says at the request, there's a memo that says at the request of a city council member, copies of our travel expenses were requested. So obviously one of the 5 of us is asking or keeping track of our travel. Now, that's fine. But then it also says here under 11B, any member of the city council may request discussion. So if you have a question about the travel, ask. Ask. Somebody asked. I didn't ask.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm gonna let Frank finish what he had to say.
Okay, well, I have not given Frank a time yet.
Okay.
Thank you. So next report is from Frank. Go ahead. You got 3 minutes.
I attended the fun-filled Star Wars celebration at the Cerritos Library on Friday, May 3. The attendees enjoyed Star Wars-themed activities and more. The celebration culminated with a live-action Star Wars duel by Jedi and Sith from the Saber Guild Temple Prime. And it was a wonderful Friday Star Wars event because Saturday was May the 4th be with you. On Monday, Councilmember Linda Johnson and I attended the Cerritos Library Teen Contest Awards event in the Skyline Room. Congratulations to all the award winners. I was excited to see students from our local city of Cerritos high schools, which are the ABC School District and the Bellflower Unified School District. Cerritos Councilmember Linda Johnson and I and our friends and family attended the super delicious Bafang Dumpling Friends and Family VIP event yesterday at the Los Cerritos Center. It's awesome that Cerritos is getting the 8th Bafang dumpling in the United States. We were honored to be invited to this special event and enjoy the Bafang dumpling specialties. They are open for business 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Please try the beef noodle soup. I'm glad that the city of Cerritos recognized, as our President of the United States calls it, this month, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Cerritos is over 60% AA and HPI, and I'm glad that we have recognized the diversity of our city, including AA and HPI Heritage Month, as well as the Jewish community that we also recognized at today's meeting. I'm proud that along those lines, last month, our city of Cerritos had the business mixer and investment and tax briefing hosted by the Philippine Consulate General, Philippine Consulate of the Greater Los Angeles area, and we had the Philippine Consul General Edgar Badajos here to welcome all of those business chambers of commerce and associations to our city of Cerritos in the Sierra Room at our Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts. All those people from across California and even Arizona came to our Cerritos Center for the Performing Arts. I was honored to be a keynote speaker, welcoming and talking to all of those attendees of the Philippine Consulate General's Business Mixer and Investment and Tax Briefing, and that was a proud moment for the city of Cerritos. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce?
I'm just glad to see that we're continuing celebrating the Heritage Month of the API. Last year we had a very large gathering at the Performing Arts Center, and the addition of the Jewish Heritage Month, came from a request from the Conference of Mayors. And I'm just glad to see that we're able to, continue a trend of recognizing groups in the city. The only thing I have tonight is we have a memo from staff concerning the consensus item we brought forward for a 501c3 to help raise funds for the Performing Arts Center. The request is that they're prepared to go ahead and help create the 501c as we did before. And I know there's several members, from the Friends group that were instrumental in raising money, and they are still doing that for other organizations since we don't have one here. I'd like to get consensus that we have staff prepare that and bring it back to us, to vote, to continue that, process.
Wasn't there was already one? 501c3 organization.
They came back with a report, to state, and if you read the whole thing, it's what, 4 pages? The last little paragraph is all about that they're prepared to do it, and it's, and we have to have it to raise the money.
Okay.
And without it, we have nothing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I think we have consensus then. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wall?
Thank you, Mayor. I recently just attended a neighborhood watch meeting towards the west side of the neighborhood last Saturday. I also attended the Library Teen Award. Unfortunately, the mayor couldn't make it, and something came up, so he wasn't able to make it. But there was 3 council members there that night. And just to make it quick and short, because I know we have speakers that are waiting, I just want to wish all the moms out there this Sunday Happy Mother's Day. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will bring back for the public.
Actually, Mayor, this is Bill, Mayor and council
Yes.
members. I just wanted to confirm the consensus or what the consensus may have been in connection with what I asked Councilmember Johnson to bring back for 11B on approving or ratifying travel expenses. I believe it was some were approved. I'm not sure. I just want to make sure that we have that correct for the minutes and for the record. Councilmember Johnson.
Okay, I'll state the part that I brought up asking for consensus is Linda, part of her request was to address this upcoming trip. And one thing that we all do is we know usually several months in advance of a trip. And we normally ask staff to go ahead and confirm that we're going to be there, to pay the registration fees and stuff like that. So it's very rare that we see something come up, and it's usually going to come up from Sacramento or DC, in response to that there's a hearing that's been scheduled or moved, and we have, very little time to do it. I agree, Linda, we have to have a process that allows flexibility for that.
So you're asking for a future.
But my specific thing is that, Linda asked, I believe, for 3 things. The one that, to me, following what was shared a year ago, is that all you have to do is, if you're at the end of your budget, just ask. And that's where we are. You're asking for the next one. And, from my point of view, we should allow that to happen. So that takes care of one of the 3 things. And so what I'm asking is that we separate the 3 into 3, short discussions and a vote. And this to me is the easiest one to take care of right this second.
So the one coming up.
The coming up follows exactly where the conversation led a year ago.
And just to confirm, this would be for the contract cities, if I'm correct, Councilmember Johnson?
That's the consensus he's requesting.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm asking for a consensus for that.
On that one, on the upcoming. And I believe Councilmember Yokoyama,
Yes.
you had provided that before. Any other
Yes.
council members? Yes.
Okay, and then Linda, if you don't mind, I want to address what I remember in the report was $9,500 or $500 over. The fact that we have not had reports, there's no way, to know that. Even as you incurred the expense, it's very difficult to keep track until you finish to fill your report out. So I would say that we should, allow that 500. One, because the process is not in place entirely yet. So, that one I think should be a very easy one to look at and to authorize that overage, which is only 500 out of the 9,000, should be addressed as a positive.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
If I could add as a friendly consensus to also create guidelines so that we don't incur.
I marked down that we need to have, you and I have talked in the past about the protocol manual. We need to have that.
Thank you.
So you know, we don't need to do it. I'll go ahead and do it. We'll let council critique it, tear it apart, or approve it. And we'll have, you know, our attorney and the rest of the staff going to review it also. So that's the protocol manual. You know, the handbook is before the subcommittee right now. The protocol manual, I'm hoping that we'll do the outside study sessions with the public, so we're all done by the end of August.
Thank you.
Mayor, what I've just heard from the council by way of consensus is that there was consensus granted for upcoming travel for the contract cities, as well as recent travel, including the SCAG Regional Assembly and other recent events that were already included in the
No,
report.
I put it in the three pieces for sake of, you know, make it transparent.
Okay.
So the travel that she had on that one report that said 9,500, you know, for Linda, we're going to say, you know, we understand it and it's okay.
Yeah, and
And then the guidelines as well, just to draft something like that up. That's the third consensus item. Am I hearing that as well?
I think everybody agrees that.
Yes.
Something, and it wouldn't be terribly complicated. We'll make sure we get that done.
Yeah,
No, it's just it's a minor adjustment to the protocol manual, but I'll go ahead and try and make it as fair as possible, and then let council. You know, we'll have plenty of time to critique it.
yes, and I was waiting for Bruce to complete so I could say yes to his request for consensus.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, well that leaves, you know, your most SCAG trip. That's the third item. No.
Split it on three, which is one that you have balance of 500. That's one. One for the future. And one now is talking about SCAG, right?
That's because I think I heard two people need to, you know, finish their discussion.
Yes.
I believe the SCAG was included in the 500.
No, it wasn't.
Any expenses that may have been incurred after that report wouldn't have been reflected in that report. And also, just for the record, the 500 number will in the minutes reflect the more accurate number.
Yeah, it's not 500. It's 876.75.
I wasn't trying to say it's to the penny.
So we're looking at SCAG now. Is that what we're talking about?
So I think
SCAG?
this is a lesson learned that we can incorporate into the guidelines, that if a council member has to question whether or not they're within the budget, when we're, like, for example, in the third and fourth quarters of the fiscal year, she had the challenge, though, is that she was appointed by the mayor to be the delegate at that SCAG event. So again, the guidelines were unclear, if there were any guidelines at all. She was appointed by the mayor to represent our city at the SCAG event as the delegate. She was there. She was the delegate. She represented our city. She voted on the items. The city manager and Kristen Aguila and Bill Erkey were there, seeing that she was doing her job for us. So again, I just think this is a new situation, a new experience, and it was a challenge for her to figure out how to do it. And she's here asking the council to approve it less than 1 week after the event. The event was just last Thursday, so it was a week ago. Yeah. So again, it's just a complicated new situation we're all trying to figure out how to deal with.
Anybody can ask. I'm not the one with the problem. You guys have it.
It looks like we're at, unless you guys change your votes, we're at a 2 and 2, and I'm stuck in the middle here.
Well, I don't think any of us made it. No one. She asked for all three, so, with all the discussion, all the topics and everything that's right, I'll give consensus. just to get it done so we can move on.
Okay, yeah, but along with that, I think the message is really that, we know what trips are coming up. And the one thing that we know is that we have a delegate, for the League of Cities, National League of Cities meeting, as well as California League. We have to have someone there to vote on, certain things that they're pushing forward. And in that last day, of that meeting, when we have a delegate there to vote, we have a delegate and we have an alternate. So there's usually two people in case something happens. We had something, and Chung, you and I worked on it a little bit to deal with, holding social media companies accountable for illegal acts. We failed, even though we had more than a 40% majority on the votes, by having two city representatives not show up at the annual meeting. So we lacked 2 votes to have a quorum where we had a majority of the votes. So it's very important that we have people show up, for these events. So, Frank, I agree with you. That part is important, but at the same time, we all know in advance, what the trips are. We know about what it's going to cost, and we need to go ahead and follow that part of it. But like I said, I don't mind, voting to go ahead and cover those different things.
Okay.
But we have consensus,
We got
and I
consensus.
believe we have
We got consent for all three.
4 or 5 people, so.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, next we have is the public comments. City Clerk, you have information on public comments?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. And members of the City Council, thank you for your patience. At this time, the mayor will open the floor to in-person public comments on non-agenda items or items that do not appear on the agenda but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. We will call upon those who have submitted electronic speakers cards. Please approach the podium once your name has been called. And remember, there's a 3-minute limit per speaker. Also, the City Council appreciates not repeating the same statements of prior speakers and instead briefly summarizing any agreement or disagreement with prior comments, as all speakers and their comments will be part of the public record. Thank you.
Not, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all. Good night.